So that's probably good enough. We're proud of you. Keep up the good work, the Lord's work, and work hard. We send our love and our blessings to the Dunahee family. This is your father signing off now. And have a happy, happy, happy New Year.
The story has been told by Melchior, and Balthazar, and the gifts they brought to the newborn king, and of how they saw the star and followed it for weeks, across a mountain and a valley and a desert, in stately procession on their swaying beasts. And they came and placed their treasures at the feet of the infant Savior. And what were the gifts? Ah, you would say, everyone knows that. They brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So since the earliest days, the story has been told. But there you are wrong. The story is incomplete. You see, the story was told by those who had seen the wise men on their journey, by those who stood in wonderment as the wise men dismounted from the weary camels and strode to the door of the rude stable. They watched as the wise men held their jeweled caskets high before them. That much the world saw, and so the story has been told. But that is not the whole story, and if you listen very carefully and very quietly, you shall hear the rest of it. You shall hear what happened when the wise men entered the stable, and you shall learn the secret of the gifts. The first of these three visitors to approach the stable was Gaspar. His cloak was of the finest velvet, trimmed with flawless fur. At his waist and throat were clusters of gems, for Gaspar was a wealthy man. Those who watched saw only that he was paused at the stable door. They whispered to one another as they saw Gaspar's lip move. But they were mistaken. They could not see that it was the angel Gabriel guarding the holy place, before whom Gaspar stopped.
And who are you?
I am Gaspar, and I come to worship the King.
All the winter here must bring a gift. Have you a gift?
Indeed I have.
He held aloft a finely wrought box. It was small, yet so heavy that his arm could hardly raise it.
I have brought bars of the purest gold.
Your gift must be the essence of yourself. It must be something precious to your soul.
Such have I brought.
So shall it be.
And there stood before the rough board a wall of the stable, lay the king he had traveled so far to see. The light of the lamp fell across the tiny face and glinted back from the dark, bright eyes. In the shadows sat the parents, motionless and silent, and beyond them Gaspar sensed the presence of the sheep and the oxen who stood their reverent watch. Gaspar advanced a step, and then another, and as he was just about to kneel and lay his gold before the child, when he stopped and stood erect. There in his outstretched hands lay not gold, but a hammer. Its scarred and blackened head was larger than a man's fist, and its handles was of sinew wood as long as a man's forearm.
But...
So shall it be, and so it is. You have brought the essence of yourself.
A hammer? What foul magic is this?
None but the magic of truth. What you hold in your hands is the hammer of your greed. You have used it to pound wealth from those who labor so that you may live in luxury. You have used it to build a mansion for yourself while others dwell in hovels. You have raised it against friends and made them into enemies, and against enemies to destroy them.
And suddenly Gaspar knew the truth. Bowed with shame, he turned toward the door to leave.
No, no, you have not offered your gift.
You have this?
But you must. That is why you came. And you cannot take it back with you. It is too heavy. You have carried it for many years, and even now your arms ache with its weight. You must leave it here, or it will destroy you.
And once again Gaspar knew that the angel spoke the truth, but still protested.
The hammer is too heavy. Why, the child cannot lift it.
He is the only one who can.
But it is dangerous. He might bruise his hands or feet.
That worry you must leave to heaven. The hammer shall find its place.
Slowly Gaspar turned to where the Christ child lay, and slowly he placed the ugly hammer at the baby's feet. Then he arose and turned to the door, pausing only for an instant to look back at the tiny Savior before he rushed out. The waiting world saw only the smile of that Gaspar's face as he emerged from the stable. His hands were raised as though as wings of an angel's graced his fingers. That much the world saw, and so the story is told.
Next, a step to the door of the stable was Melchior, the learned Melchior. He was not so repleasant as Gaspar, for he wore the darker robes of the scholar. But the furrows in his brow bespoke one who had lived long with the wisdom of the ages. A hush fell over the onlookers as he too paused before the door, but only Melchior could see the angel who stood guard. Only Melchior could hear him speak.
What have you brought?
I bring frankincense, the fragrance of thin lambs and bygone days.
Your gift must be something precious to your soul.
Of course it is.
Then enter, and we shall see.
Melchior stood breathless before the scene within. In all his many years of searching for elusive truth, he had never sensed such a presence as this. He knelt reverently. And from beneath his robe, he withdrew the silver flask of precious ointment. But then he drew it back and stared. The vessel in his hand was not silver at all. It was common clay, rough and stained, as might be found in the humblest cupboard. Aghast, he pulled the stopper from its mouth and sniffed the contents. Then he leapt to his feet, only to face the angel at the door.
I have been tricked. This is not the frankincense I brought.
What is it then?
It is vinegar.
So shall it be, and so it is. You have brought what you are made of.
You are an angel of fools.
You bring the bitterness of your soul, the soured wine of a life turned grim with jealousy and hate. You have carried within you too long the memory of old hurts. You have hoarded your resentments and breathed on sparks of anger until they have become as embers smoldering within you. You have sought for knowledge, but you have filled your life with poison.
As he heard these words, Melchior's shoulders drooped. He turned his face away from Gabriel and fumbled with his robe as though to hide the earthen jar. Silently, he slided toward the door.
Wait, you must leave your gift.
How I wish I could. How long have I yearned to empty my soul of its bitterness. You have spoken the truth, my friend, but I cannot leave it here. Not here at the feet of love and innocence.
But you can, and you must if you would be clean. This is the only place you can leave it.
But this is vile and bitter stuff. What if the child should touch it to his lips?
You must leave that worry to heaven. There is a use even for vinegar.
So Melchior placed his gift before the Savior. And they say that when he came out of the stable, his eyes shone with the clearest light of heaven's truth. His skin was as smooth as a youth's, as he lifted his face to gaze on horizons he had never seen before. And in that, at least, the story is correct. There was yet one more visitor to make his offering. He strode forward now, his back as straight as a tree, shoulders firm as an oaken beam. He walked as one born to command. This was Balthazar, leader of many legions, scourge of walled cities. Before him, as he grasped it by its handle of polished ebony, he carried a brass-bound box. A murmur ran through those who watched as they saw him hesitate before the door. But we know that it was Gabriel who caused the warrior to pause, and we know, too, the question that he put.
Have you a gift?
Of course. I bring a gift of myrrh, the most precious booty of my boldest conquest. Many have fought and died for centuries for such as this. It is the essence of the rarest herb.
But is it the essence of yourself?
It is.
Then come, and we shall see.
Even the fearless Balthazar was not prepared for the wave of awe that struck him as he entered the holy place of this Christ child. He felt a weakness in his knees, such as he had never known before. Closing his eyes, he knelt and shuffled forward through the straw in reverence. Then bowing until his face was near the ground, he slowly released the grip upon the handle of the box and raised his head and opened his eyes. What lay before him at the baby's feet was his own spirit. Its smooth round staff still glistened where the sweat of his palms had moistened it, and the razor edges of its steely tip caught the flickering light of the lamp.
It cannot be. Some enemy has cast a spell.
That is more true than you know. 1,000 enemies have cast their spell on you and turned your soul into a spear.
You speak in riddles. I'll teach you not to jest at a time like this.
Living only to conquer, you have been conquered. Each battle you win leads you only to another, with a foe yet more formidable.
Do you think I like to kill? You angels know nothing of this world. I am the Dilender of the people. Were it not for my spirit leading them into battle, we should have been destroyed long ago. Why, even now the enemy is massing it to invade us. As soon as I leave this holy place, I must raise more armies. I must buy more spears to arm them up. And
More? Than what?
why, more than we have now, more than our enemies have.
And what will they do then? Will your enemies too need more?
Balthazar heard the angel's words, and they seemed to echo in the deepest places of his soul as though vaguely familiar. Was the question one that he had sometimes asked himself? Was it that faintest flicker of doubt, quickly stifled by one who had not dared to doubt? For a moment, Balthazar hesitated. Then, taking control of himself, he turned toward the door.
I cannot leave this here. My people need it. We cannot afford to give it up.
Are you sure that you can afford to keep it?
But our enemies will destroy us if we drop our spears. We cannot take that risk.
Yes, it is a risk, but your way is a certainty of spears.
Once again, Balthazar hesitated. Once again, the sweat of his palm moistened the smooth shaft of the spear. But now the bead stood out on his forehead as well, as the force of Gabriel's words did battle with centuries of warrior instinct. A long moment passed. Finally, Balthazar loosed his grip, and the spear drooped toward the floor. But as he looked back at the child at his feet, he whispered anxiously to Gabriel.
But here? Is it safe here?
This is the only safe place to leave it.
But he is a child, and the spear is sharp. It could pierce his flesh.
That fear you must leave to heaven.
And they say that Balthazar went calmly from the stable, his arms hanging gently at his sides. They say that he walked first to Gaspar and Melchior, where they waited, and embraced them as brothers. Then, turning to the others who watched, he went first to one and then to the next, enfolding each in his outstretched arms, as one greeting beloved friends whom he has not seen for a very long time. That, at least, is how the story has always been told, and it is true as far as it goes. But you have listened well, and now you know the whole of it. Now you, too, may kneel before the Christ child to leave at his feet those unseen, secret things that may be left nowhere else but there. And having visited the holy place, you, too, like those 3 visitors of old, may go on your way made new. But what of their gifts, you ask? What of the hammer, and the vinegar, and the spear? Well, there is another story about them, and how they were seen once more, years later, in fact, on a lonely hill outside of Jerusalem. But do not worry, that is a burden heaven took upon itself, as only heaven can, and will, even to this very day.
You have to narrate it, Matt. No. Talk to him.